Thank you, Adrian. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm also here with my colleague Rob. And he's been working in the industry and with grants for many years, so he'll also be around for questions at the end. But yeah, we'll get started. So today we're going to be talking about the types of things that can get funded and where this funding comes from, the pots of money that are available and the pots that are also coming up in the near future. And we're going to be talking about some resources and advice if you're doing your own funding applications, but also telling you about the help that is available. And quickly just about the group that I'm from, Fishing Animateur. We're funded by 3 fishing charities, and we exist basically to help people in the fishing industry get access to funding. So we try and break down the barriers, maybe for people who struggle a bit more with computers, or anyone if you're trying to run a business and also having to deal with these complex funding applications. It can be overwhelming, and you need to supply a lot of documents and information, and it's a long process. So we basically just try and make that process as stress-free as possible. But yeah, we can talk more about that in a bit. So yeah. So why does funding exist? Well, I guess like for fishermen in particular, it's really important for a number of things, including health and safety projects, adding value. It's about trying to support people's businesses and creating an industry where people can continue to fish, and also sort of bigger, more infrastructural projects that hopefully can modernize the industry and also can help to create jobs. So there's lots of different areas of it, and lots of different categories where you're able to get funding. Yeah, so these are just some of the areas, and now I'll give you some examples. So a lot of the work that we do is helping fishermen get access to health and safety grants. So for example, this could be that if you've got a vessel and you're trying to align with the new safety code of the MCA, and you've got to do a complete overhaul of your vessel, you've got to put in the safety rails, you would benefit from a non-slip deck, new wheelhouse to improve crew comfort. So all sorts of things like that. This is all eligible under the current FISP funding. So we do a lot of projects for the health and safety, and also for adding value. So I think the government tends to like funding projects that don't help you get more fish out of the water, but projects that help to add value to the catch that you already have. And so you're making more money from your catch. So we've done a lot of written grants this year for people to get refrigerated vans, fish skinning machines, insulated tubs, anything that can add value. And then we work sometimes with local authority and small ports and harbours. And this can be projects that include replacing all the harbour-side ladders to ones that hopefully will last, or doing the lighting, CCTV. So there's all sorts, and there's many other categories as well that aren't on here. And this includes things like marketing measures. So if there's a species of fish that you're thinking, actually, this could be a new fishery in our area, but we don't know how to get the public to cotton on and buy this fish, then yeah, marketing projects to do with helping sort of spread the word. Yeah, so there's lots of different funding available. So generally the things that won't get funded, as I said, is things that help you get more fish out of the water. So that can include things like net haulers, jigging machines, gear which so there are gear projects which are eligible under FISP, and they basically include improving selectivity. So if you want to replace all of your nets and increase your mesh size, then that kind of thing can be funded, but then they would want evidence of you having destroyed all of your old nets. And then also engines, replacement of engines is, they don't like that. So stuff like that isn't currently funded. But later I'll talk about the Hospital Society Fund, which actually can in certain situations fund stuff like the net haulers and the jigging machines, but we'll come on to that. Okay, so generally speaking, who can help with your funding application? I would say that as an organisation, we are probably your first port of call if you want to check whether a project is eligible, or if you need any advice with your funding application, I would say that the Fishing Animateur team, we're good people to talk to. But also, for just chatting to people in your home port and getting to know what other people are getting funded for is quite useful. And on the point of local authorities, we're expecting to see less projects leading on development programs at the moment due to like cuts. And then also there's some paid consultants out there who do similar work to what we do. But yeah, obviously you need to pay a fee for their services. So yeah, so this is what we can help you do. So if you wanted to check whether something can be funded, we can certainly ask for you or we'll know. We also write the applications, but we focus our support mainly on the under 10, on the under 12s, and boats using static gear. But we also do other projects, you know, the small ports and harbours, fish processors, and there's various ways to contact us. So I think that's a link to our website there. But we'll leave our contact details, and yeah, there are many ways of getting a hold of us. We're on phones, we're on WhatsApp, text, call, email, and we also for people who don't like emails and stuff, you put rather paper copy in your hand, then we're very happy to post things to you. Right, so as you're probably aware, grants you don't have to pay back, loans you do have to pay back with interest, and there is a bit of a flaw to the system. The current timeline of most of these funds is that say you instructed us as your agent, we would help get an application together. We would write the application, submit it, you would supply us all the documents we need, like your photo ID or a utility bill and your business account, stuff like that. We would submit it. We would then hope for an offer letter 8 weeks later. And then at that point, we would hope to get the offer through. And then you're ready to pay for the items of your project. But the fundamental flaw is that if you need to completely refit your boat and your total project cost is £30,000, however, if you can get sort of 80% grant funded because you're an under 12 vessel and you're using static gear, it means that you need to still pay for the total 100% cost of that project. So, and that's the difficulty. It's like, it's a cash flow issue. So basically then you would have to pay for the £30,000 and only afterwards can you claim back your 80%, that money. So this is where ComSave, the credit union, comes in, which is very useful, and it does function as a loan, but it's been designed with the fishing industry in mind, and loans specifically for this exist so it can sort of save you in the interim period where you're waiting for the grant money to come back through. So I hope I explained that okay. So if you're writing your own grant application, I think it's important to try and explain fully about all of the benefits that this project could bring you and your business. So for example, if I'm writing an application for a refrigerated van, I might say in the application, this is going to be really beneficial because it's going to improve my access to markets. It's going to keep my catch fresher. I'm going to be able to sell my catch for an increased price. It's going to increase the amount of markets I can access, and I'm going to have a thing where I can sell directly to the public. So you've got, and it maybe improves fuel efficiency. So it's all things like that. And just really double checking the requirements and that your application aligns with the criteria that the grant provider sets out. And then, yeah, just double check, because any mistakes in the application later down the line can take a long time to fix. So this is, I'm sure this presentation will be sent to you afterwards. This is lots of links to the government pages of the sort of funding updates. But what might be easier is if you would like to join our mailing list. We only send out emails every couple of months, but feel free to add your email address to the chat function below, because something that we do is we can actually notify you when new funding becomes available, and we try and break that down for you. So yeah, so it's a bit easier to understand. And then some charitable places. So the Fisherman's Mission, they do not fund anything to do with fishing activity, but they do fund things to do with life. So if there is a fisherman that can't pay his council tax bill, then the Fisherman's Mission could step in and offer grants to help with that kind of thing. The Seafarers Charity, I believe they give out grants occasionally to projects that maybe don't align with the government schemes. Fishmongers Company will come on to in a minute when we're talking about FISP, which is a science fund, and they're funding some science, the contribution to some science research projects from fishermen. And yeah, there are various others there. So next, we're going to be talking a little bit about FISP, which is part of the funding has just opened, and it's going to be open in different blocks of 6 to 8 weeks, and there's going to be multiple of these rounds in the next couple of years. And what this scheme aims to do is basically get ideas for research projects from the fishing industry, and instead of it being top down. So yeah, so this is just a timeline of if you do have ideas for research, what you can do. If you give us a ring, then Emma and the team at Fishing into the Future, they can support help linking up with a scientist, or if you've already got a scientific partner, then that's fine. And then basically we would aim to support an application and write that if it's eligible, and then yeah, try and develop it into a fundable project. So the kinds of areas of this scientific projects is limited to these 3 areas. So a lot about fish stocks. So for example, if you want to know when you can fish bluefin tuna again, then you could do a population study on that. Or we were speaking to some fishermen in West Scotland recently who are interested in sprats and herring. So maybe they would look at life cycle study for that to see if they can then develop that research and see whether a new fishery there is viable. So there's also projects on gear. So one of the ideas that's been put forward for this is that some fishermen have developed a new type of net where they've been trialing it, and they think that it can reduce the bycatch when they're trawling for prawns. so they would like to roll that out and test it on different vessels. And then also some stuff to do with aquaculture and reducing the environmental impacts. So yeah, so FISP is the stuff I was talking about earlier, safety, adding value. That has to date been only open to England. I'm not sure whether the new FAST scheme, which is opening in April or May, will be open UK wide, but I think Rob can comment on that in the questions. So that's set to open in April or May this year, and that will run for 1 year, and then for an additional year after that. And then we've got FISP, which is currently open. Then we've got the infrastructure fund, which I believe has opened this week. And this is for slightly bigger projects. So you can get funding from over 300,000 to 5 million. And they've got quite specific things which they're interested in for that. This includes like reducing carbon emissions and renewable energy. And an example of this would be the electrification of ports. So that is one thing. And then, yeah, if you're interested in the infrastructure fund, then feel free to email us and I can send you some more information on that. We've got the UK Innovation Fund, which will open later in the year. The Seafarers Hospital Society. So if you work in the fishing industry and if you're a fisherman and if you've got a medical thing going on, for example, you've been diagnosed with arthritis or you've got a really bad back, then occasionally we make applications to the Hospital Society and they can fund things like a jigging machine or a net hauler. And basically these funds exist to try and make your life easier and to try and ensure that you can continue fishing with the equipment that you need in order to do that. Yeah, so I guess that sums things up. Yeah, and just to say thank you, and yeah, I hope you have some questions and I'm sure Rob will be able to help with those as well. Thanks, Adrian.